I'm Scott Galloway, professor at NYU Stern School of Business, and first up my rant, or as I like to call it, gun shows in town, bitches! The CARES Act is another form of wealth transfer masquerading as economic stimulus. Few breadcrumbs assigned or thrown into the middle class simply for optics. Continued mission of government, continued mission not only to keep rich people rich at the expense of middle and lower class Americans, but our grandchildren will have to pay for these debt-fueled shock absorbers for rich people. Why? Because they don't vote. Let's rap about PPP, or as I call it, Madoff times 2,000. Of the first $350 billion in PPP, more than 25% of the funding went to less than 2% of the firms. That means 1 in every $4 went to the largest 1.5% of applicants. We have literally income inequality in the form of a stimulus package. The largest 4% of loans receive more money than the smallest 74%. That's right, this 4% getting more than this 74%. Public companies with combined market capitalizations of over $18 billion received $1 billion in PPP before some were shamed into paying it back. That's almost 6 times the largest bank heist in U.S. history. The majority of PPP funds are not saving people, but bailing out millionaires. Kurasushi, 80% owned by a Japanese parent company with an $800 million market cap on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, received $6 million before returning it. Nikola Motors secured $4 million and is refusing to give it back. Continental Materials received $5.5 million. The Ashford Group of companies associated with the hotel tycoon Monty Bennett applied for $126 million and received more than $58. Monty's companies have paid their executive team almost $200 million in the past decade alone. Monty is now returning the money because of update eligibility rules. However, a study by USC found entrepreneurs tend to be wider, better educated, and more likely to come from high-earning two-parent families. What do you know? Rich white dudes are making out really well. What a shocker! And these are the people we've decided to bail out. If we want to stimulate the economy, if we want to juice this thing, if we want to put a cattle prod up the ass of the economy, well, it's simple. You know what happens when you give lower and middle income people money? They spend it. There are 128 million households in the U.S. with the bottom half registering incomes of less than $65,000. If we took that $2.5 trillion in stimulus and spread it across those households, we could give each over $30,000. Small businesses don't need artificially inflated job roles. They need demand to come back. Get the banks, get the small businesses out of the way. Protect people, not companies. If a firm can't survive a 3 or even 6 month interruption in business, then maybe it should fail. Part of capitalism is letting companies fail. We've embraced rugged capitalism on the way up, privatizing the gains, and cronyism on the way down, socializing the losses with taxpayer-funded bailouts and huge deficits. Small businesses, we are the wolves of the business world. Now, government is turning us into the bitch poodles waiting for government to come home and feed us. Easy to blame the administration, the ass clown, Count Chocula, and post-dementia Reagan. At least they're more explicit about their criminality to transfer wealth from every cohort to rich baby boomers. However, we expect more from our Democratic leaders who are complicit in Madoff 2000. The real culprits here aren't rich managers and owners of small firms feeding at the trough, but the U.S., who's decided to elect weird and weak leaders with no oversight. The only bipartisan action in Washington is an agreement to steal from future generations with reckless spending that keeps their donors wealthy with scraps thrown at the middle class purely for optics. COVID-19 is horrific and painful for many of us. Hopefully, one of the positives from this pain is it inspires more forward-looking investments in our government and specifically the CDC, so we don't find ourselves again as a nation that got this more wrong, handled this crisis more incompetently, focused more attention on blaming anybody or anything to avoid facing the hard truths. With just 5% of the world's population, we have about a third of the deaths. We had more time to prepare. We spent more money on healthcare. We think of ourselves as being the most innovative, and the US and China are going to go down as incompetent and corrupt as it relates to COVID-19. We should and must do much better than this moving forward. Let's start calling the rescue package what it is, a hate crime against future generations. We should be protecting people, not companies.